Hello, everyone. Welcome back to My Line Purpose podcast. I'm your host, Nicole Crone. I've got my friend Jillian Murphy here today, and I'm so excited for everyone to hear from her. I'm assuming lots of people already know who you are, Jillian, because I feel like before I met you in our mastermind, I'm like, oh my God, I see Jillian Murphy's in the mastermind. That's cool. Um, Jillian, I want to dive right in and I want you to tell everybody where you're calling in from and what's feeling really good for you today.
Yeah, so I'm calling in from Scottsdale, Arizona, and what's feeling really good is I know this is crazy for some of you guys, but it's actually only 94 degrees here today, which is like a literal cold front for us. So I'm very excited about the fact that after my calls today, I get to go outside and actually go for a walk because Arizona in the summer, you do not leave the house.
It's crazy. We went last August for Powerhouse, and yeah, it was like 104 degrees Fahrenheit, which is very high. And I was sweating in places I didn't know could sweat.
Yeah, it's crazy. I just bought a pair of Nike slides the other day and I went out to my car and they were completely melted in the back of my car, and my friends were like, "Oh, yeah, you can't leave anything in your car." I'm like, "Shoes? You can't leave shoes in your car?" But it's a heat that, like, people literally do not understand until they get here, and then they're like, "This is wild." And it's
Yeah.
all day from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed.
Yeah, it's crazy. I love the heat, but also like I like relief with water, whether it's a pool or a lake or whatever it might be.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I want to just do some rapid fire
Sure.
questions that have nothing to do with business, but just to get into it. There's a food you could eat it every day for the rest of your life. What is it?
Well, it would be macaroni and cheese, but I would not eat it every day for the rest of my life, but, like, Blue Box Kraft macaroni and cheese is my jam.
Okay, love that. If you were given a first class plane ticket and the best accommodations to wherever you want to go in the world, where would you go right
I
now?
would Right now, I would probably go to, like, Bali. But
Mm.
fun fact about me, I've never taken a flight over 4 hours, so I miss out on a lot of really cool opportunities because I'm actually terrified of flying.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's okay. Maybe we'll dive into this.
Mm.
It's like you know, you're fearless when it comes to sales. And I just think that's such a fascinating conversation how we all have fears in like different areas of our life.
Yeah.
Um, okay. And then last question is song, musician, artist, band that is your go to always get your energy up.
Whitney Houston, and also fun fact, I had a birthday cake when I was 8 years old that was Whitney Houston's head, and, like, none of my friends knew who it was, and they, like, came to my birthday party, and they were like, "Why do you have, like, a black woman's head as your birthday cake?" And I was like, "It's Whitney Houston," and, like, nobody knew who it was.
Hilarious. Do you have older siblings?
I have an older brother and an older sister, yeah.
Was it influence of, like,
Yeah.
them, do you
They
think?
were, like, always listening to, like, Duran Duran and, like, Whitney Houston, all these things, and, like, I was, like, a child of the '80s, but I, my friends had no idea who these things were, and, yeah, they were like, "Who's your birthday cake?" Like, "I don't think, like, Berenstain Bears or something." And it
Oh,
was
that's
just, like,
so
her head. It was, like, her fro and, like, her face. It was, like, the craziest looking cake I've ever seen.
oh, that is amazing. I love that so much. Jeff and I are pregnant right now, and we're pregnant with a baby boy, but before we knew that it was a boy, we were both hoping for a girl, and Whitney was her name, and,
Um,
we were like, "It's if anybody asks us, like, is this a family name or whatever?" We're like, "No, we both really like Whitney Houston, though. We like the name."
yeah, like, I absolutely love that, and also congratulations, I'm so excited for you guys and to, like, follow along your journey. You know, I have a 23-year-old, I'm sure we can talk about that later, even, like, motherhood and business, but, it's so crazy to just see people at different points in life and what they're kind of doing, so, yeah, congratulations to both of you guys.
Thank you. I know when I saw that you had an adult child, I was like, what's the skincare routine? What's the trick here? What is going on? I'm so confused. Did you have her when you were 10? I don't know what's
I
going
do get asked that a lot, and it's so funny because I have, like, the worst skin routine ever. I think I just got really, really, really lucky.
Okay, well, we'll go with luck for skincare. Let's talk about you are known for sales. Let's dive right in. You're known for sales and you are the queen of it. Scale your sales. This is what you're all about. That's your podcast. Now, tell us a bit of the backstory of you run Infinity, you have a podcast, you run these programs, you support business owners to make sales, which is arguably the most important piece of business. And where did this not only like passion come from? Because I think it's important to be passionate about it, but the expertise. Where did this come from?
Yeah, so quick little backstory for you guys. I actually wanted to be a police officer my entire life. Like it was like my dream job, which is very interesting because I don't come from a family of like police officers or anything. And straight out of college, I literally went into the police academy. And back then I was probably 100 pounds soaking wet. And I actually went to the police academy in Detroit. So like not like a suburb. I went like to the city and I lasted 6 weeks in the police academy. And I was like, this is not for me. And I'm probably literally gonna die here. Like
Mm,
literally, like literal. I'm
yeah.
like, "I can't do this," and I came home, my parents were super excited about it, and they were like, "Okay, but you have to get a job, like, you have to do something," and I was like, "Okay." So I actually took an internship at a large, like, food service distribution company as an intern, and I was there 1 year, and then at the end of that, I offered a position, and I started as an entry-level salesperson, and fun fact about this, I say fun fact a lot, it's like one of my favorite things to say, but fun fact about this, I was the first female hired in our organization since 1963. So, I came in as an intern, like, this young, just, like, hot chick at 19 years old, like, didn't really give a shit about anything, and
Mhm.
then I got a job after being there, so I was 20, and I came in and I looked and sounded and felt and everything about me was very, very different than what the company culture was. It was
Mhm.
very old school boy company. It was very much like they go and have cigars and drinks on Friday after meetings, and I just kinda came in, and I knew from the very beginning that I wanted to grow within this company. And these men were not nice to me. You would think like they would love like a hot 19-year-old, 20-year-old coming in. They were actually very rude to me. And I said, you know what? Not only am I going to become like the top of the food chain in this company, but I'm going to have them all working for me one day. And that
Yes.
was really kind of like my that was really my goal. I was like, all right, like F you guys, like you're gonna work for me one day. And I very quickly moved up the ranks, from, salesman of the year, salesperson of the century, like all those types of things. And then by the time I left my corporate career, which was 23 and a half years later, I was managing 217 men. All men, no females. I was still the only female in our sales organization that they had kept for that long.
That's incredible, and right away, I'm like, what do you believe in your, like, childhood or teenage years gave you that confidence? Because that's you've gotta have confidence to walk into a room full of a bunch of old boys club and say, "Not only am I gonna work here and, like, please take me on, but, like, I'm gonna fucking dominate this." Where
Yeah.
do you think that came from?
Number one, I have like the world's greatest parents ever, but I have a dad that just has like unwavering belief in me. And my dad is super successful in a company kind of adjacent to what I did. And I was like, you know what? I'm basically like going to just own this, and, like, if my dad can do it, I can do it, and I also people always ask me, like, "Well, why didn't you just work for your dad?" Like, your dad my dad's super successful, he'd owned a bunch of companies. People were like, "Why didn't you work for your dad?" And I was like, "Because I didn't wanna be like Larry Brown's daughter. I
Mm,
actually wanna be successful, like, on my own," and it felt so good, and I've had this throughout my entire life. It felt really good to find my own, like, independence and be successful on my own without, like, my dad's name, a husband supporting me, like, whatever that looked like, and again, there's a lot of things we can unpack there, but I think that's where a lot of it came from.
totally. I inside of My Lane Purpose, we always say that our belief is a woman who's making more money is more resourced and has more opportunities, and we're not waiting around to marry rich,
No.
win the lottery, or the pay raise that you're never gonna get.
Yeah, yeah, I'll tell you guys a quick story. I just recently bought a watch on Saturday, okay? And I wanted this watch for, like, a decade, and, it was a Rolex watch, just for context, right? So I wanted this watch for like a decade and I kept setting business goals of like, hey, when I hit six figures in my corporate career or when I make VP or when I do this. And every single time that goal came here, it didn't feel like the right time to pull out my debit card and buy it.
Right.
And I recently just went through a pretty bad breakup, but more importantly, before that, I went through a terrible breakup. So I'm coming off of two really bad breakups. And I
Mm,
go to the Rolex store on Saturday and I'm sitting there because you got to kind of wait like in the lobby before they can like see you because they have like one person working in a Rolex store apparently. And I was watching all these women come in with their men partners. And they were saying things like, oh my gosh, I really want this one. And he was like, okay, can she try it on? And I was like, gross. And then it would be like, "Oh my god, I really want this one for Christmas or our anniversary," and he'd be like, "Okay, like, take a picture and send it to me." And then the last one was this young girl came in, probably about 16 years old, and she was like, "Dad, this is the one I really want for graduation." Now, we'll give her a little bit of credit because she was young, but it was in that moment that I said, "This is the day that I buy it." Today's
Mhm.
the day I buy it because I can literally pull out my debit card, not even my credit card, and pay this. And I don't need anyone else to buy it for me, supplement it. I don't need to ask anybody. And now I wear it every single day as a symbol of like total independence and confidence of like me and myself and my worth.
And I think every woman listening to this podcast needs to hear that, to know that you don't have to wait. You don't have to wait for the man, but you don't have to wait for the pay
Right.
raise. You don't have to wait for the time. Like you said, it was in that moment that you're like, uh, well, I'm assuming your inner thoughts had something to do with like, I'm worth it. I
Yeah.
deserve this.
Yeah.
And, oftentimes I'll say, nobody's going to come and crown you CEO of your company. Like you have to decide that. You have to step up and say, I'm the founder, I'm the owner, I'm the CEO, whatever it is. And like really take that on because if you wait around, especially in the entrepreneur space, for like somebody to give you that label, like you're going to be waiting forever. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, and I wanna say this too, it's like, this is why knowing sales is so, so, so important, and understanding sales is so important, because even in that moment when I gave him my debit card, and it was probably the largest purchase I've ever made in my entire life besides a car and a house, and I
Mhm.
gave him my debit card, and I literally saw it come through my debit card, I said to myself, "Alright, I'll just go make it back this week." And we are now sitting at Thursday, and on Tuesday, I had a client come in that was a pay in full that paid back what I just invested. So again, it's also about having that unwavering belief of like, yes, I'm going to do this for myself, but I know the universe, God, whatever it is that you believe in, is going to supply me. I didn't sit in like, oh my God, now I spent this money. Like, what do I do? I was like, I'll just go make it back. And literally, like, I made it right back.
I know, and and that's a whole other side conversation of the energetics of money and it's in circulation and it wants to come through you and to you and all of these sorts of things. Want to link this to you in that sales position to running your company. I remember June of 2020, so 5 years ago, I had my first $15,000 month. Now,
Incredible.
the June before that, I was teaching grade 10, 11, and 12. I was a high school teacher here in Victoria, which is like the third most expensive city in Canada where I live. And the teachers here are paid so low. So I think after like I paid into my pension and my benefits and the taxes and yada da da da, I think I was walking home with maybe $3,500 a month.
Yeah.
And when that following June, I said, this is my last school year, June of 2019. I said, I cannot do this anymore. And I had already taken time off. I left in 2016. I got freaked out. I was like, no, I should have a real job. So I went back the 2018, 2019 year for another position. And then I was like, immediately when I took that job, I was like, fuck, Nicole, you don't like this. You feel trapped. But I had to fulfill the contract, or so I thought. So June 2019 rolls around and I said to myself, I have no plan of what I'm doing next. I do not know. I asked if my school could say that they laid me off so that I could get unemployment, and fortunately they did. And
Mhm.
I sat in unemployment or collecting unemployment for 3 months being like, "What do I wanna do?" So I went and took my coach training, and the world works in divine ways, and I got hired by this coach, and she took me on and taught me everything that she knew. Da, 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 da. And then the pandemic happens and the world closes down and she says, I've got to let you go.
Mhm.
You got to go figure this out on your own. And she had hired me and Kayla separately. And then that's how we met. And she was like, you two got to go figure yourselves out. So we called each other after that and we were like, should we build something together here? And so that June, we built our first course together. And I still had a payment coming from her. And I used to do book coaching for a publishing company on the side. So I had that. And that June that I made $15,000, I swear I felt like I won the fucking lottery. I was like, this would have taken me
Yeah.
a qu a quarter of the school year to make
Yeah.
this amount of money.
Yeah.
And I just think, like, when you see what is possible, when you know that there's no cap on what you can earn, yeah, you've gotta go make your own money, so you have to know sales, but there's no cap. So take us on the journey then, Jillian, from, like, you're in this company, you're making all these sales, you're running all of these men, and
Yeah.
then now you're here with your own company. What was that transition?
Yeah, so I was a diehard corporate person. I always say, like, if I could have tattooed my company's name on my forehead, I would have. Thank God I didn't. But I was like a poster child in our company. Like, even to the fact that when you walked into our corporate office, my picture was like on the wall. Like, we had like this mural like painted, and I was like one of the people that was like painted on it. So I had like such security in my job. My company, like, president, owners were like, at my wedding. Like it was
Oh,
it was crazy. Well, I worked for a family-owned large company, and they got bought out by investors. An equity company came in, and we
okay.
started to kind of see things kind of shift. And then I actually I have a little backstory about this too. But then I actually lost my corporate job during the pandemic. And I
Oh,
was firing people left and right, laying people off left and right. And I walked into the office on a Monday, sat down at my desk, no big deal. My HR director came in and said, "Hey, can I see you in HR real quick?" I was like, "Yeah, like no big deal." I went in and he was like, "Today's the day." And I was like, "What? Like, I don't know what that means. Like, what does that mean?" And he's like, "We actually are cutting down our like top 10 like highest paying people because the company, basically the new investors, you sell your company to an equity company, the new investors are coming in and basically it's just all numbers now." And I will never forget, I walked out of my office without a car, without a laptop, and truly like I lost my identity. And I called my dad, again, who was a very successful business owner, and I'm like, "I don't know what to do today." And he's like, "Well, today you can go eat some ice cream, go for a run, watch Grey's Anatomy or Friends, but tomorrow you're gonna like figure your shit out." So I literally gave myself 24 hours to figure it out. And then I literally started my own business on that Thursday. It was that quick.
wow.
I moved that quickly.
Wow. Now, did you have, because I always say, like, when I was a teacher, I didn't know an entrepreneur, but I guess you had your dad. So, but like, I don't come from an entrepreneurial family and my friends weren't. Everybody I knew was like teacher. And so did you have proof or like, I guess if it was during the pandemic time, maybe on Instagram, you were seeing people like, what led you or steered you in the direction of like, I could do this on my own. I do see it's possible.
Yeah, so that's why I said I have a little bit of a story. And I know we have Chris Harder in common because, he's both of our mentors.
Hmm.
But about 6 months prior to that, I had a bunch of girlfriends that were online coaches. They were like, influencers, online coaches, and they were going to this an event called Fast Foundations in Los Angeles. And they were like, "Hey, do you want to come to this mastermind with me?" And I was like, "No." And they're like, "It's gonna be in LA, it's gonna be super fun." And I was like, "Okay, who is it?" They're like, "Well, Chris Harder's running it. Chris and Lori Harder." And I was like, "I don't know who those people are." Like I have no idea who those people are. I spent $5,000. I went to this thing. I remember we had to go up and introduce ourselves, and I was like, "Hey guys, like I'm here with Jen and Lauren in the back. Like I am not an entrepreneur. I work for corporate. Like I'm basically just here to like hang out with my girls for the weekend." And I had no intentions of doing anything with this mastermind other than just doing it. And it's funny because Jim Carter was in that.
Hmm.
He actually sat next to me in one of our round tables and some other people that are still in our social circle. And I went to lunch that day and I sat next to Nick Carter. I always say Nick is actually the one who birthed my business. And Nick was
Mm.
like, "So what do you do in corporate?" And I was like, "Oh, I just like help people sell and like help them with their marketing and help them with funnels and all these different things." And he's like, like everyone in this room probably could buy from you." And I was like, "Oh, like okay." And I remember I wrote down his name on a piece of paper. Fast
I
forward
love this.
3 months, 2 months, whatever it is, I lose my corporate job. I literally slid into Nick's DMs. I was like, "Hey, I was in your Fast Foundation program. I didn't really, like, pay much attention to it, but I think I need a business coach because I just lost my job and I don't know what I'm doing." He actually referred me to someone in the mastermind. I hired her. And a
Mhm.
little story about this, if you're not in the online space, you have no idea what people cost, right?
Oh my gosh, no.
So, I had just lost my corporate job. I had no idea where money was coming from. He's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna send you to this woman, Raquel Quinnett." I'm like, "Cool." I hire Raquel. I'm like, "How much is it to work with you?" She's like, "8K a month." I'm like, "What? Like, are you kidding me?" Right? I pay her. I hire her for 3 months. So basically, like, take money out of my 401k and my investments, hire her, and we hit our first 6 figures in 6 months. We hit our first $500,000 in 18 months, and we crossed 7 figures by, like, year, like, 2 and a half.
Amazing. That is so I love this whole story of like, I didn't know who they were. I
No
sat
idea.
next yeah. I those that is proof right there for everybody listening that you don't know who's following you or paying attention to you that in a moment could say, "Hey, I was at this event or heard you speak or read your book or heard you on a podcast and I like literally you don't know me, but I want to work with you."
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know if you guys know who Tiffany Carter is, but she's like the OG of entrepreneurs in the online space. She's got like hundreds of millions of followers. And she actually sat next to me at one of our roundtables. And I had no idea like who she was. And now like looking back and I like look at pictures, I was like, I was literally in a picture of Tiffany Carter. Like I could have literally like picked her brain for 3 days at this event, but like you don't know. And then you also don't know like who you're in community right now are going to be like the coming up kids, right?
Totally.
So out of that mastermind of 50 people or 100 people, there's only really a few of us that like have really done something. and I was
Mhm.
one of them. And now
Mhm.
looking back, it's like, I'm sure people, like, didn't even pay attention to me in that room because they were like, "Oh, she's like this girl from corporate, like, whatever." And now it's like, I'm actually one of the people who have, like, done the most out of that round of fast foundations.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to, you want it, you have drive, you have ambition, you're not waiting around for somebody else to build your business for you or make your sales for you. So if we start to now like really dive into you being this sales specialist, which you are, and it's your passion. I'm sure you've experienced this over the 5 years that I've been running our mastermind and our program. I definitely come across people who say they want it but then, like, they don't do it. What do you feel like people need the most when they sign up to Infinity? Like, and I'm obviously we're talking sales, but like, do they need the confidence to sell? Do they need the wording? Like, what do people need the most that you see?
Yeah, I think the number one thing that people need the most when it comes to selling is they have to have an unwavering belief in themselves that what they're selling is good, right? So whether you don't know your offer yet or you don't know your product yet or whatever it is, you have an unwavering belief that like you're going to figure it out. Right. So I knew I was going to figure it out. I knew Infinity was going to have hundreds of people in it one day. I knew I was going to have a great podcast one day. Like you have to go in with all of that. And if you don't have it right now, that's okay. That's why you work with mentors. That's why
Mhm.
you have people that believe in you. You know, I'm in my home office right now, but I have on my fridge, I can literally see it right here. Chris Harder sent me a text and he said 2025 is going to be your biggest year ever in business. And I've had that thing on my fridge for a year and a half because I didn't believe that was possible, but I had someone else that believed in me it's possible. So you don't need to always have it yourself, but you definitely need to be in community with other people that see it and other people that have already done it because they see what's possible for you.
Mhm. Yeah, that breathing belief into you is
I also
so
think
important.
this, I talk about this a lot on my podcast, and hopefully I don't ruffle some feathers with this comment, but I was in the offline space for 23 years, right? Businesses like restaurants, gyms, chiropractors, dental offices, like businesses, brick and mortars.
Mhm.
Business. When people come into the online space, they don't understand business.
Oh my
They are
god, yeah.
basically just like, I'm going to create something. Well, if you're just going to create something, you just have like some stories that you put up on Instagram and you're hoping people buy. People don't look at the level of investment that it takes to build a business, a company offline. And my biggest thing is like, how do you possibly think you're going to come online with no skill set of how to run a business or what this looks like, or marketing or sales or funnels or Kajabi or anything, and not invest in it? That would be like
Mhm.
saying, I want to open a Subway, but I'm not willing to take out a loan. It's
Yeah.
not possible. And there's like this huge disconnect, and I work with people in both brick and mortar and online, and I love my online clients, of course, like they're my world. But there's a disconnect of like what it takes to have a business versus like what it takes to have a coaching business.
Oh, 100%. And I like that you said this might ruffle the feathers or I hope it doesn't ruffle the feathers, but I'm all about ruffling the feathers because I think it really draws a line in the sand of who's with you on your message and who's like, "Oh, toodaloo, like I can't vibe with that." And that's okay. Go find somebody else. But in regards to this particular message, the other thing that I think is really fascinating is well, I guess it's not fascinating because yeah, I'm assuming people are fed this information all day, every day online. But the amount of people who come into the online space and say they want a business, but really they want to be a creator,
Yes.
and and their belief, I think it's like they genuinely believe this, is that they saw so and so show up in the online space and say, I make $100,000 every month and you can too. And it's easy and just do some digital products and make some reels and you're good to go. And I want to say maybe that works for some people. I don't know. I've truly not met anybody who hasn't been like, oh, but actually behind the scenes, I've been working my fucking tail off and these five other ways didn't work. And then it works out. But like, you have to show up and run a business. You have to, and not only that, profitability. Like we can talk about sales. Let's talk about sales and talk about revenue that comes in the door. But like, are you actually building profit in your business as well? I think all these people are like, I'm doing all the things and I'm not making any money at the end of the month. It's like, yeah, because you're not treating your business like a business.
Yeah, 100%. And there's so many things I would love to say on that. Number one is when it comes to building a business online, you need to ask yourself, what is that person doing in order to make that money? I just recorded a podcast on this very topic yesterday because my best friend interviewed me for my 300th podcast episode. And she's like,
Congrats.
thank you. She's like, yes, you have this business and it's great and whatever, but I would not want to be doing what you're doing every day. You guys,
Mm.
I hustle like no tomorrow. I grind like no tomorrow. I'm at my computer a lot of times. Like I'm on podcasts, I'm going to events, all these things. And she said, yes, it might look good to like see Jillian Murphy's Stripe accounts or, hey, she built this business and whatever. But she's like, I'm not willing to do the things that like you're willing to do. So when you're hiring a mentor, ask yourself, are you aligned with their style? So the
Right.
majority of people that work with me are hustlers. We're hustlers, we're grinders, we're willing to figure shit out. Like, we don't have time for anyone else, right? Because that's who I am and that's who I attract. So,
Mhm.
if you have a mentor that you're thinking about working with, whether it's Kayla or Nicole or me or whoever, ask yourself, like, can I actually implement the things in which they're doing to build me the business that they have?
100%. And knowing, from our side of the table, our perspective that like it's okay if you don't vibe with me. I would rather you go work with the coach or mentor you vibe with and rather than expect me to change because I'm not going to change. This is who I am and how I operate and likely the same for you.
Yeah.
When when is it all women in Infinity or do you work with men as well?
Men
Men.
as well, yeah. I actually
Okay,
love
so
working with men because I operate in masculine energy. So I actually love working with men.
okay, awesome. So when people come inside of Infinity, without giving your secrets away, but like, what do you know that is like your je ne sais quoi, like your special sauce of how you support people to get sales that is different? And I know you just kind of said like it's hustle energy. So, yes, that's a differentiator. But like, what do you feel like is your thing that people can be listening to this right now and they can hear, like, oh, that's me. I need that. I need to learn sales that way?
Yeah. So, number one is I am going to hold you with so much love and so much grace, but I'm also going to tell you the real truth. Right. And I think a lot of people hire me because they have hired a lot of like fluffy coaches and they tell them like their launch looks really good and just keep doing it or their sales page looks really good. You guys are going to come into my world and I'm going to give you a little tough love. I'm
Hmm.
going to say, like, no, your content is actually terrible. And this is why it's not converting, but let me teach you how to fix it, right? Yes, you're getting on all these sales calls, and it's not that they can't afford it. It's that you are literally talking in circles and you're not giving value. Let's fix this, right? So I'm not afraid to give tough love conversations. And I truly feel like that's why my clients get such results, is because no one is actually giving it to them straight.
Mm,
I want someone to give things to me straight. Like that's how I have the mentors that I have. It's why I even have the friends that I have in the social circles. So that's the number one thing that I think is very different about me in the online space. And I'll tell you, people either lean in or they lean back, and that's okay. I'm 100% not for everybody, right?
yeah.
The other thing is Infinity is not a program where I'm going to teach you a lot of things. Most of people that come into Infinity actually have to like unfuck what they've learned. They've learned
Mm,
way too much stuff. They're trying to go viral. They're creating all these Canva slides. They have Kajabi and they have Go High Level and they're like they're all over the place, right?
clicking.
Yeah, yeah. Like I'm literally not going to probably teach you anything else. I'm actually going to like stop you and be like, what are we actually working on and what do we actually need to implement? So that's the
Mm,
second thing that makes it very different. And then the third thing that I truly think makes our program different is you're getting me. There's
mhm.
not a co-coach, there's not somebody else in it, and it's me in your business. So it's not a course, it's not a bunch of modules that you watch. It's literally coming to calls with me, bringing your questions to it, and I'm like pulling your business apart, and then so is the community. So I think those are probably like the three biggest differentiators with me particularly.
Mm. You know what I think is another differentiator about you that I love so much, and I've shared this with you briefly before, not the whole context of this story, but there is a coach. I say that in air quotes for anyone who's not watching in the online space, and she's Canadian, and she claims to make literally like 80 million a year.
Yeah.
Um, and she's never had a website. And I've always called bullshit on this. I'm like, there's no way. You could allude to who I'm talking about, and maybe you
Yeah.
know, but I'm like, and then it's this whole it's like network marketing of like her coaches sound exactly like her and then they
Mhm.
coach and it's all very elusive and nobody has websites and it's all they're
And no
making.
one really even knows what you're buying. You're just like buying in like fucking energy. Yeah, we don't
Yeah,
want people like
yeah,
that.
to be in their energy. Um, but the thing that I have whenever I've heard anybody say anything about her, I'm like, "She doesn't even have a website." I'm like, "This is bullshit. That's a joke." But then I met you and you were like, "I don't do sales calls and I don't have a website." And I know you're legit. I mean, we're in the same mastermind together. I see you showing up on social. I know other people who have been in your world and stuff like that. And so then I'm like, "Oh, okay, I'm still not changing my mind on this other coach." But I'm
Yeah, they're
like,
still elusive and weird and energy based.
yeah, totally. But I'm like, you are the real deal and you don't need that.
No.
So let's talk a bit about for the people who are listening who get all caught up in like, I need the website, I need the brand, I need this. And you're like, no, you fucking don't. I have $1 million business or however big your business is, multi millions, and you don't have a website and you don't do sales calls. So, like, what's that all about?
Yeah. So again, no sales pages, no sales calls, and no website. And I want to start with the website first because my ideal client isn't really searching me out on a website, right? My zone of genius is forward facing content, right? So face to camera content, talking content, think about like TikTok style content.
Yeah.
That's my zone of genius. Nobody is going to get that type of energy and that type of like connection with me through a website. So we just don't do it. And the thing about a website is you still have to drive traffic to it. And
Hmm.
then once they're on the website, it's like you got to have copy and your copy better convert, right? And if you're selling high ticket or low ticket, whatever it is, I actually think you need more copy for low ticket and less copy for high ticket. But it's you need there's so many things that you need to do. And I have built my entire business on two things. I say this all the time, humans and heartbeats. That's it. And all I do is I just go out and I find people every single day. Yes, every day. A day does not go by that I'm not doing outbound organic lead generation. And then I'm asking them like, hey, what are you currently challenged with right now? And then when they tell me, it's like, hey, this is what I would do. This is how I would help you. And if it makes sense, I would love to work together. And when people hear I don't do sales calls, they usually are like, oh, well, she probably has like a $97 product or something like that. You guys, I've closed sales all the way up to $56,000 in the DMs without a sales page, without a website, without anything, because people aren't going to actually read it. They want to know that you're the expert. But in order for this to work, your content has to be you're doing the heavy lifting, right?
Hmm.
So people
Has to be reflective of you, really
are
you.
100%. So people are not just sliding into my DMs being like, "Hey, can you tell me like what it's like to work with you?" They are, but because my content is doing the heavy lifting. Every day I talk about infinity. Every
Mhm.
day I talk about one-on-one mentorship with me. Every day I talk about the problems in the words that my ideal client has, right? A copywriter is not going to do that as well as I am.
Yeah.
So that's actually what works. And that's what I also teach my clients as well. Now, I don't get on sales calls because one, I don't have time. Personally, I just don't have time.
Yeah.
But also, based on your selling type, you should know if you're good on sales calls or not. So if you guys haven't figured it out by now, I'm a little edgy, I'm a little more direct, I'm a little more brash, and I work in 100% dominant energy. So I am actually someone who actually should not be on sales calls. Because if
Mm.
I get Nicole that's on a sales call with me and she's asking me 87 questions, I want to pull out my hair and I can't hide it.
Right.
Okay. But if I'm in the DMs, I have time to think about it. And for most of you that are getting on sales calls, you're not trained on sales language, tonality, all of these things. So you're basically practicing on the person. But if they're in the DMs with you, you have time to like stop, think, how do I want to
Mhm.
answer this? Did I just get off of a coaching call and I'm in a bad mood? Did my husband make me mad? Do I want to give it some time? Like you have so much more control when you're actually in a DM conversation versus a sales call.
Mm. What is your or maybe you're not met with this, but maybe you are. When somebody, they're vibing with you, they meet you from your content or they're referred to you and they're in the DMs and they're like, "Hey, I just want to hop on a call to just ask you a couple questions." Do you just straight blank say like, "I can answer them right here?"
Yeah. I say, hey, Nicole, I absolutely understand that you want to jump on a call. You're busy, as am I. And I probably wouldn't be able to get you on a call until next week. So why don't we just talk right here through the DMs, through some voice notes? And at the end of our voice note conversation, if you still have more questions, then I'm more than happy to jump on a call. You guys, nobody has taken me up on the call at the end. I've done 6 sales calls in 3.5 years.
Yeah, it's so good. I love it so much.
Thank you. And again, my products are, $6,000, $19,000, $30,000. So I'm not selling like a 499 product. And I also will say this, nobody's running my social besides me. So
Mhm.
when you're in the DMs talking to me, it's not a closer, it's not a high ticket closer, it's not a manny chat. You're literally getting me. And that's why I do voice notes. People are like, oh, wow, it's actually her. Yeah, it's
Mm.
actually me.
And I really appreciate when I meet and hear other business owners who, yeah, you can afford a social media manager. You can afford to have somebody do that. And that's a piece of, I always say to anyone who's talking to us, like, I will never give up our social media. It will always be me in the DMs. Social media is not really Kayla's thing. That she likes back end stuff and to be in the systems and spreadsheets and stuff. But I'm like, nobody's going to run our social media or answer our DMs except me. I don't want to give that up. I don't care how many millions of dollars we're making. I'm not outsourcing that.
Yeah, I just had this conversation with our mentor the other day because Infinity is very similar to another product that's in the online space by a mentor that wears a blue shirt. You guys probably know who he is, right?
Mm,
And, he is making hundreds of millions of dollars a year in his coaching program.
mhm,
And my mentor continuously tells me all the time, you are missing out on millions of dollars because you are not automating your social media, automating them to a manny chat, hiring high ticket closers, and moving it. And this is what I'll say, I am not in a place that I want to, or I feel like I'm going to do it because when people talk to me in the DMs, they know exactly who they're getting. If
mhm,
they're talking to Nicole, my closer, and she's a little more introverted and shy and meek, and she talks a certain way, then they come onto my call, they're like, holy shit, this is a totally different energy, right? So I want to make sure that every single person that comes into our world, I'm like physically touching and talking to. So yeah, I'm sure without a doubt I'm leaving millions of dollars on the table. But at this point in my business, I want to run a profitable business, not a bigger business. And
mhm.
number two is I'm okay doing it.
And on the other side of that, before we signed up to Chris and Lori's mastermind, I was diehard Lori fan. I didn't even really know Chris,
Yeah.
but I had been listening. Lori was the very first podcast a friend ever sent me when I was like, "Hey, I think I want to listen to podcasts," and it was a guy, and he was an entrepreneur, and I was not, and he was like, "I think you'd like this one," and sent me Earn Your Happy, anyways, long story short, but before we joined their mastermind, I was like, let's see what Blue Shirt Guy's all about. He's
Yeah.
Canadian
Yeah.
um
Me.
and we couldn't get through to literally the person running the business. And I was like, I don't feel good about this.
Nope.
And then saw Lori pop up a mini chat of comment this thing. Me and my husband are doing this mastermind together. I was like, oh, okay, this looks similar, but there's real humans behind it.
Yeah, and even Chris, like Chris still does his sales calls for his mastermind. I mean,
Yeah.
I never took one because I was already in his world, but he's even said like he's not willing to give that up. Now again, there's 25, 30, 40 of us, but you guys at the end of the day, it's all about humans, and it's all about
Hmm.
connection, and I was in that same DM channel with the same blue shirt guy, and I also did not buy his program. I actually messaged him for business and for macro coaching, and the same thing, it was like they couldn't answer my questions, and I was like, "This is just a symbol, I feel like what it would be like if I was in there." Now, I have a ton of friends and ton of peers that love him and love his program, but it's not what I'm seeking. So
Yeah,
whatever I'm seeking, I'm gonna sell the same way.
exactly. Jillian, this has been so value packed for everybody. And in a moment, I want to get to like where can people find you? And obviously, like there's Infinity and what else is for sale and how do they get in and all that great stuff. So I want to get to that in just a moment. But the last little bit that I want to touch on before we start to wrap up is I was telling you before we hit record that I'm guessing because you never really actually know the stats of who's listening to your podcast. Like I can tell you demographics and stuff, but my assumption from feedback is that it's a lot of women business owners who are either new or are really dreaming about exiting the 9 to 5 corporate space and like doing this thing. And they've got a lot of fears and they've got a lot of fears. But if I could summarize the biggest fear for people, it is, the stepping away from security, but like this is secure. Like I'm gonna make my paycheck every 2 weeks and I've got the healthcare and all of that. What advice or what would you say to somebody about either creating your own security or I'll just leave it to you, your own words?
Yeah, so a couple of things. It's like, where is this need for security coming from? I think that's the first thing that you have to deal with, right? Like, is it a childhood thing? Like, why is this need for security so important? And are you willing to work for a company that, quite frankly, you're not secure with?
Right.
Look at the stats. People are you're laying people off every day, some of the biggest corporations. So at the end of the day, this is more secure. I know that I can pull my own levers and make my own money, but I also know that like I have that belief in myself. So if you're going to go all in into owning your own business, you have to understand, well, one, a couple of things that it's not always going to be secure, right?
Mhm.
But that's why when you work with mentors, you're in communities like Kayla's and Nicole's, right? You hang out in my podcast, whatever that is, so that you realize that there are going to be ups and downs. And this is why you treat your business like a real business. You guys, I've had months where I've made multiple six figures. I've had months where I've made nothing. That
Mhm.
means I don't go out and blow hundreds of thousands of dollars when I make it. It's like I build in a cash runway so that I'm always having a secure lifestyle. So I think that's the first thing. But also, it's like you have to go all in. And if you are going to be set back on fears, you're not going to make it. It's the
Yeah.
biggest thing I see with all of my clients. If clients that are all in, like, hey, I'm going to figure this out, I'm going to make it work, all of those things, it's huge. We're lucky enough to be in a community where we get to hear from really high level people. And I wrote this down the other day because Dean Graziosi came in and spoke to us. And I wrote it down, and it's literally on my notepad right here in front of me. And it's also on my whiteboard. And it said, work every day like you're broke.
I love that too. I wrote that down
It
too.
was literally my favorite thing. So, let's just use July for an example. I had a great July month, my biggest month in business I've ever had. I still show up today like I don't have any money coming in.
Mhm.
I still show up today like I want to go get clients. You can't get comfortable in the comfortable because you're gonna have months that it's slow.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That you do have to, yes, first look at like what's the need for the security. But really it's that trust and belief of you create this for yourself and are you secure? Microsoft just laid off what, 800 employees?
Yeah, literally. It's literally wild when you think about it. And I think the other thing I just want to touch on this too, because I fell into this, so I'm talking from this from personal experience. What is your corporate job making you right now, right? Maybe it's making you $60,000 or $80,000 or $100,000. That's probably all you actually need to make in air quotes. But
Right.
when you come to the online space and people are flashing up their launches and doing all these things, we are always chasing more. Like
Mhm.
we need more, right? And I think that's something that's very hard people when they come over from like a corporate job into the online space because it feels like it's never enough because there's always someone doing something different. And I had to get real clear with myself of like what is enough and what do I need to be making and the rest is fine, right? Because we're always in this like chasing energy online because you do see so many people doing big things, but you don't know what's actually happening behind the scenes. You don't know what they're spending. We had a woman in our mastermind for 3 years. Her name was Melissa Hinault, and she ran a 5 or 6 or $8 million business. And I was chasing her for years. Like, I want that business. I want that business. I want that business. And one time we got on a podcast, and it's one of my most downloaded podcasts, and she broke down everything. She was like, "Let me tell you what my profit margin actually is." She's like, "Jill, you're running like high 70%. I'm like barely around 10." Right? Like all of
Wow.
these things. And it was so interesting because I was like, do I want to work that hard for that little bit of profit? Or do I want to run half a million bucks and $1 million and take a hell of a lot of money home with me? Like, I don't
Yeah.
take one team member. I run crazy profit margins. And at the end of the day, it's like, I don't need to say I have a $5 million business. I want to say I have a business that takes home a lot of cash.
Mhm. I love that, and, I don't know if you ever heard, like, Tony Robbins' analogy of, like, reverse engineering it, and when I first heard that when I got into the entrepreneurial space, he was like, "You might think you want $1,000,000 or whatever it is, but, like, actually write out, like, if you could live the lifestyle you want, and you write out, like, you pay for everything, the highest mortgage you want or rent payment, and you add that up in a month." He was like, "I bet you your life doesn't cost you $83,000 a month."
No, 100% no. You guys, I live a very simple life, but there are things that I really like. Like, I like nice clothes. I live in a very nice apartment. I drive a nice car. All of those things. I could literally maintain the exact same lifestyle that I have right now, probably at like 300K a year.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So
Easy.
I think this is great, like a great reminder for everybody listening because it can, I've been guilty of getting sucked into comparison of like, oh, she's doing more or faster or better or blah, 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 blah. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, Nicole, you're so happy with what you've accomplished now compared to where you were 5 years ago. Even, 10 years ago feels like a completely different life. And like, you're going to continue to grow. I just keep reminding myself, like, I'm not going to go backwards.
No,
And, I don't need 86 or $83,000 right now to feel content. And I'll be, when I get there, I'll be very happy with that. I don't know what changes I'll make in my lifestyle, but right now, like, going for a facial, a massage, a spa day, like those are my things that I like to spend money on, which I felt trapped in when I had a teacher job. I didn't realize I felt trapped in it, but I'd be like,
yeah.
oh, my $500 massage benefits are up. So now I can't go anymore.
Yeah, or I gotta save to go next month or whatever. And now it's like, Nicole can go get a massage today if she wants. She can take her husband. She could probably take Kayla. Like,
Yeah.
it just feels good. Like, you don't need to always be doing it. But yeah, I think the biggest thing is like, what is that lifestyle that you actually need? And like, why are you chasing it?
Mm-hmm. So people want to build their amazing lifestyle. They want to master sales. They want to be in your energy. Tell us where are all the places, and it will all be linked for everybody listening. So you don't have
Yeah.
to like fiery jot this down. We'll make sure it's all there.
Of course, number one is I always invite people to come over to my podcast, Scale Your Sales Podcast. And I put a freebie together, especially for this podcast today. It's called dmstarters.com. If you guys go over to dmstarters.com, there's 20 simple DM conversations that you can start to start making
Amazing.
sales literally today. It's so simple. And then again, like I have a program called Infinity, which is here to like master your messaging, your marketing, your sales, your pricing, and your offers. Come over to my world. We'll see if you're a good fit for it. But at the end of the day, like just follow me on my content. Come over, hang out, say hello. If you're a friend of Nicole's and Kayla's, you're a friend of mine.
Oh, I love that. And then above infinity, you've got one to one.
Yeah. Yep. I do one-on-one mentorship. One-on-one mentorship is really for the person who wants to pay for speed and they want to pay for like proximity to me a little bit closer. I always say I don't like pull out this like secret black book that my one-on-one clients get that Infinity members don't get. I'm literally teaching the exact same thing. In fact, I had 3 one-on-one coaching calls today and I'm like, this is actually what I'm teaching in Infinity tomorrow. But they want it quicker. They want it on their own timeline and they want my direct hands in their business. So that's who I work with. And people that work with me one-on-one, I mean, they're anywhere from beginners to I had a client that hired me this week who's a multi seven-figure earner. So it's all ranges and just depends on like what you're looking for, but I love to help businesses make more money, generate more profit, and do it without, sales calls and all those other types of things.
Mm-hmm. And one clarifying question, because I know we clarified it's for everyone, it's not just for women. And you do work with all types of businesses, correct? Brick and
Yep.
mortar, online, the whole gamut.
All gamut. So I have med spas, I have realtors, I have coaches, consultant, healers, practitioners, men, women, all different things, and we love it.
Perfect. All right, everybody, go listen to Scale Your Sales. Follow Jillian Murphy on Instagram. Check out Infinity. And if you're ready for speed acceleration, then just inquire and go all in.
Thank you so much for having me. Thanks, Nicole.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.